On April 4th, in Qingpu, Shanghai, 3 women shook the branches of a tree while taking photos to create a romantic cherry blossom rain effect. The same scene played out in Wuhan. In their script, the beauty of the cherry blossoms must be elevated through their own direction of falling petals. However, shaking trees is just the basics. This year's cherry blossom highlight featured a heavyweight contender. A well-rounded woman climbed up a sturdy cherry tree in full view of onlookers. But before she could even strike a pose, tragedy struck. The tree couldn't support her weight, and the trunk snapped right at the base. The moment left online viewers shocked. One said, "Never thought that these thick arms and legs would want to climb a tree, especially one so full of blossoming cherry blossoms. She managed to climb down, but I think she should pay for the tree, the flowers, and the damage. This can't be forgiven." One user even commented, saying, "Such a sight. This kind of cherry blossom viewing is something you'd never see in Japan, even in 1,000 years. Speaking of Japan, that hits really deep. Cherry blossoms, in Japanese culture, embody the body of mono no aware, the transient beauty of life. They symbolize the fleeting brilliance and sadness of life. So cherry blossom viewing in Japan comes with a sense of almost ritualistic respect. Under the trees, people lay out blue picnic mats, take off their shoes, sip drinks, or quietly look up, as if having a silent conversation with a brief life. When they leave, everything is clean and tidy. Sadly, as more and more Chinese people travel abroad to see the cherry blossoms, the trend of shaking the trees has spread. So, the user who thought they'd never see this odd scene in Japan is now witnessing it there. This has sparked heated discussions online. Some say it's due to poor character, while others believe it's a systemic issue. Japanese people follow rules because violating them leads to social isolation, whereas Chinese tourist violations go unchecked and without consequences. On April 7th, outside Lingyin Temple in Hangzhou, Zhejiang, several women began to passionately worship in front of a statue of Master Kukai. They raised their hands high, moving their arms wildly, almost as if dancing a mysterious square dance or trying to bless the master with some powerful spell. Netizens are lamenting, "Do you believe it? This is just the basics." This group of people act like they're possessed. Exactly right. They can do anything, even do animal lease using rice or bottled water. After these people pass away, China's cultural quality will significantly improve. The pension is so high, they can't even spend it all. They literally can't spend it all. However, these women probably don't know who Master Kukai is. He was the founder of the Japanese Shingon Buddhism. In the year 804, he went to Tang, China as part of the Japanese diplomatic mission, studied esoteric Buddhism in Chang'an, and later returned to Japan to establish the Shingon school. His influence on cultural exchanges between the two countries is profound. If these women knew they were worshipping a Japanese Buddhist monk, who knows what outrageous things they do? In recent years, the term Chinese aunties has transcended age and gender to become a unique cultural phenomenon. Their behavior is sometimes laughable, but also often deeply sad. In supermarkets, the discount vegetable section is their battlefield. The frantic snatching, the hysterical shouting. It's as if they're fighting for the last resources before the end of the world. In the countryside, a newly steamed pot of rice can spark a fierce fight among these women. Whenever there's a supermarket promotion, they're full of energy, as if they've transformed into sprinting champions. The aunties have no problem squeezing onto the bus. Young people simply can't compete. Even if they're lucky enough to get a seat, they still have to obediently give it up in the end. In the countryside, the big banquet tables are their battlefield. After the dishes are served, everyone's first reaction isn't to pick up their chopsticks and eat, but to immediately start grabbing. Some people just walk away with a plate, while others grab with their hands. If you've never seen this scene, forget about eating. You're probably not even going to see what the chicken looked like. They don't even spare the elm seeds by the roadside, leaving them bare after they're picked clean. Now, let's take a look at China's super black tech weapon. A bunch of green nets are being held high into the air, and people are definitely puzzled. What on earth is this for? Is it for fishing, catching shrimp, or maybe they're cosplaying as fishing experts? You wouldn't guess. This is the candy catching tool used for new home housewarming celebrations. Aerial shots of the scene show a spectacular sight. The celebration is packed with people, each holding a large green net, necks craned, eyes fixed on the floor above, eagerly awaiting for the landlord to toss down candies, sweets, and little gifts. As the candy falls, the scene turns into a massive catching frenzy. Before it even hits the ground, it's already snatched up. Netizens joke, 5,000 years of civilization, with skyscrapers everywhere outside, but instead we're fighting for rice and candy. Some even warn, please don't let this get out to other countries, they'll think we're starving. At a tourist spot, an auntie caused a stir by skipping the line. A righteous young man couldn't take it anymore and shouted, "Line up!" An auntie, unbothered, was picking flowers in a park, and when someone stopped her, she retorted, "It's not your family's flowers." Netizens mock. These are the people born in Sweetwater, raised under the red flag, learning from Lei Feng, and trained in the spirit of socialist cultural civilization. Do you see this in Europe, America, Japan, Canada, Australia, or New Zealand? Maybe not even in Africa. On April 10th, at Kunming Changshui Airport, a family of 5 bought cheap tickets with no free checked luggage. But when it came time to board, they tried to rush past security without paying the luggage fee. After being stopped by staff, they went into full family action mode. The auntie threw a tantrum on the spot, while the daughter kicked a staff member in the confusion. In the end, the elderly family member went for the classic age card, lying down on the ground, pretending to faint, and causing a complete scene. The children watched it all, initially stunned, and then looked embarrassed and helpless. Netizens couldn't take it anymore. Those poor kids, born into this kind of family. Imagine how awkward it will be for them when classmates see this video. Classic. Cry, make a scene, and pretend to be sick. Where are the airport security? Why is it left to the flight attendants to deal with this? Luckily, this happened in China, and family members stayed within the family. If it had been at an international airport, this would have painted all Chinese tourists in a bad light. Such a pity. Chinese people weren't like this before 1949. After over 70 years of CCP rule, there's little teaching about how to behave as a person. Instead, people are told to be loyal to the party, focus on getting rich, and be selfish. People without moral restraint will lose control. So far, no official statement or follow-up action has been seen online, but netizens have already come up with their own script. Call the police and take them away, detain the leader for 7 days, and blacklist the family from the airline permanently. At Shenzhen North Station, there was another classic high-speed train gatekeeper scene. A woman waiting for her companions used her body to block the high-speed train's doors, refusing to let them close. Staff tried to persuade her for a while, but she stood firm, causing the train to stay put until her companion finally got on. The train was stuck for several minutes. Netizens couldn't help but laugh, commenting, "The high-speed train has to wait for Chinese women for a few minutes, just like Chinese government officials." Even more extreme, a netizen shared a personal experience from around 2009 while traveling in London. An elderly Chinese woman stood with one foot on the bus door and the other on the platform, frantically waving behind her while shouting, "Don't rush, I'm blocking the door." She blocked the door for 3 or 4 minutes until an old man with a backpack and his little grandson made their way over to board. The foreign passengers on the bus stared in disbelief. The Brits probably never saw anything like this in their lives. On the Beijing subway, 2 would-be aunties turned the seating area into a martial arts scene, putting on a full battle for all to see. They grabbed each other's clothes, pulled bras, yanked arms, and pushed heads, tangled in a fierce struggle, neither willing to let go. While fighting, they kept shouting insults at each other. Nearby passengers watched the entire scene unfold, their expressions going from shock to numbness. Now, let's look at the latest viral video from Hong Kong. A woman aboard a plane began a full foot spa routine. She took off her shoes, exfoliated, and scraped off dead skin, professionally, as though she were at home on her couch. The most outrageous part? After scraping off the dead skin, she lifted the hand she had just used to touch her feet to her nose, took a deep sniff, and savored it as if she was enjoying the finest perfume. The video has exploded in popularity, and Hong Kong netizens reacted immediately. Not a Hong Konger, she's from mainland China. Lastly, a young woman at a charging station finished charging her car and casually tossed the charging gun onto the ground. As if that wasn't bad enough, she drove right over it. However, her actions weren't that special. Apparently, many car owners do the same thing. So it's clear that people with poor manners are everywhere, regardless of gender. On April 11th, at a Sam's Club in Shanghai, an elderly man saw a razor in the display case and immediately began shaving his face and head with it, as casually and skillfully as if he were in his own bathroom. This hands-on experience left surrounding customers stunned. Even though Sam's Club charges a membership fee, they still can't avoid these kinds of people. Some netizens jokingly suggested that he might have been a relative of a member, asking him to pay the membership fee over my dead body. In a high-speed train carriage, a man sat facing backwards with his feet stretched out directly in front of the passengers behind him. A little girl sitting behind him couldn't take the smell and tightly covered her nose with her clothes. The train attendant couldn't bear it any longer and approached him, but the man responded defiantly, saying, "Why does it matter to me if they can't stand it?" On April 8th, a truly baffling incident unfolded aboard a Malaysia Airlines flight. A Chinese male passenger, who was on a group tour, went straight to the aisle and slapped a flight attendant on her backside. The flight attendant immediately reported the incident, and the crew called airport security to remove him from the plane. But the man stubbornly refused to leave and switched into diplomatic immunity mode, trying to get out of the situation.
This counts as physical contact? You're saying Singapore doesn't count as physical contact?
He kept explaining that he was part of a tour group and had a guide. Being with a tour group doesn't mean you can do whatever you want.
I didn't do whatever I wanted. I just gave you a light tap, and now you won't let me board the plane.
That was a light tap?
Play the video. You'll see, it was just a light tap. It's not my problem. Now you're making me switch flights. I don't even know what flight is next.
He continued to deny responsibility, and then said something that shocked everyone.
China-Malaysia relations are very good.
Eventually, he was forcibly escorted off the plane by airport security. Netizens mocked, China-Malaysia relations are good, so it's fine to slap Malaysian women on the backside? So low. Does he think he's so important just because he's on a group tour abroad? Big country confidence, do whatever you want. What kind of logic is this? What does China-Malaysia relations have to do with you molesting a flight attendant? Some netizens added, he even dares to mention Singapore. In Singapore, his actions would have earned him 1 to 3 months in prison and a fine of 2,000 to 5,000 Singapore dollars. Plus, with his attitude, he'd probably get caned too. People like him ruin the reputation of Chinese people. Just after someone used China-Malaysia relations as a free pass to touch someone's backside, another little pink put on a patriotic performance at the Malaysian airport. At the currency exchange counter, a little pink noticed the screen showing the new Taiwan dollar instead of the Chinese Taiwan, and immediately became indignant. He proceeded to give the exchange worker a lesson in broken English.
I'm from China, and I found a mistake here. Taiwan and Shanghai, Hong Kong. This country, and Hong Kong dollars and new Taiwan dollars. Hong Kong and Taiwan belong to China, but
different. Taiwan has their own currency, Hong Kong has their own currency, China have their own currency.
yeah, but Taiwan and Hong Kong belong to China.
This little pink repeatedly emphasized that Taiwan and Hong Kong both belong to China. The staff, looking helpless, patiently explained, "Sir, this is just currency. It doesn't represent a country." Afterward, this guy excitedly ran to Douyin, China's version of TikTok, to post a video, with a caption and tone full of self-satisfaction, as if he had just successfully defended national sovereignty. Netizens couldn't help but laugh. He should protest at Zhongnan High. Why doesn't Taiwan use the RMB? Why isn't a provincial secretary sent there? With English at a primary school level, he dares to perform patriotism, really maxing out the confidence. How deprecating and bored one must be to do something this stupid. People with no life goals causing trouble overseas. Can we start by learning English first? This kind of behavior, arrogant, with a sense of national superiority, always looking for validation, is really quite pathetic. Even if Taiwan is unified one day, do you think the people there would be on our side? Some netizens pointed out, those who can go abroad aren't fools, but then they act foolishly abroad, either for clout or on a mission. It makes others look down on the truly friendly Chinese people. Recently, the Taiwan Buddhist Chu Tzu Foundation held a charity event in New York, distributing free food. And guess what? Almost everyone receiving food was Chinese. Looking at the elderly in the video, dressed neatly, spirits high, and standing in line with such confidence, are they really so poor that they urgently needed this food? If picking up free food was just a minor thing, the next incident takes the cake. Recently, the Japanese have finally realized Chinese people have taken insurance fraud to new heights. There are fewer than 1 million Chinese living in Japan, but they've managed to pull off over 10,000 hospitalization claims while back in China. In 2022, there were only 650 related claims, but by 2024, the number skyrocketed to 13,000, a 20-fold increase. A Chinese insurance agent in Japan complained, saying, "A friend of mine works as an insurance agent, but because of the high claim rate from Chinese customers, several insurance companies stopped working with her. Now she doesn't dare to sell insurance to Chinese people anymore. When they buy, it's clear they're just trying to cheat the system. It's like a chain reaction. One cheats and then brings others along." Even worse, during the pandemic, the Chinese insurance agent would directly say, buy it, you'll get money for hospitalization. One policy pays back for 2. No matter how good the system is, as long as there are a lot of Chinese involved, it's doomed. Even neighboring South Korea hasn't escaped this. In 2024, the amount of insurance fraud committed by foreign nationals in Korea skyrocketed by 28%. You might think this is just an isolated case, but when these isolated cases cross borders, they become a label for the entire group. Finally, let's hear from a vlogger living overseas who is also from the auntie's generation. This is her heartfelt message.
为什么欧美讨厌中国的大妈团？
Why do Europeans and Americans dislike the Chinese auntie groups? Why do Chinese tour groups get sent to eat in basements during breakfast time? Why do breakfast signs clearly state 1 egg, 1 cup of milk, 1 croissant, 1 regular bread, and at most 1 apple? I personally experienced this in 2018 when I joined a tour in Shanghai. Even though I'm of the same age as those aunties, I really felt mistreated and got stares from others. The problem with these auntie groups isn't their age, it's their lack of boundaries. They're not incapable of standing in line, they just want to cut. They're not unable to understand the rules, they just don't want to follow them. They steal eggs so much that the hotel had to put the Chinese tour group in the basement. Then it went from stealing condiments, forks, small cups, to towels, bathrobes, and hangers. Aunties, it's not others who are losing face, it's you who are throwing it away. Europe and America used to welcome Chinese people because we had strong purchasing power. But now they realize they don't even want our money anymore. The world doesn't punish the first person who breaks the rules. It punishes everyone who follows the rules afterwards. Following the rules isn't just for others to see. It's to save face for your own family. Aunties, it's really time to tone it down a bit.